My name is Ramyata. I am the Senior Recruitment Advisor for University of Queensland. We are based in Brisbane and one of the top 50 universities in Australia. So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about the group of 8 universities. Now, since I'm going to share my screen with you, hang on a moment. Okay, Almas, can you see my screen?
Not right now.
Okay, 1 second. I'll share it again. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, it's there.
Okay, let's do the slide show. Okay, that's great. So now I'm sure you can see my slide. Am I loud enough for you to hear?
You're perfectly audible, yeah. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a little bit about the group of 8 universities. Like you have the Ivy League business schools and universities across the world. You have the Russell Group of institutions. So you have, a lot of tags given to such high quality institutions across the globe. And in Australia, we call it the Group of 8 universities, which is a coalition of top 8 universities in Australia. And they are one of the leading universities in research and teaching. So we will discuss a little bit about what makes the Group of 8 universities different from other universities. And you studying and holding a degree from a Group of 8 university, how is it going to help you in terms of your career, in terms of your professional, personal development? Okay. Now, just before we go on to the Group of 8 universities, I would like to, take you through what Australia is all about. So when you think of Australia, many students or many people until very, very recently did not even think about Australia as a study destination. So I studied overseas. So I'll give you a small brief about myself here. I hail from a small town in Kerala. I come from a family background which is into medical education. Obviously, I had this opportunity to complete my MBA in UK. So I did my bachelor's in Cochin and then took some work experience, went to do an MBA in UK. Now, for me at that point in time, Australia was not a popular destination. Everybody was going to UK and US was just getting popular too at that time. So now things have changed because now people know Australia is at par with other world recognized degrees. So now in your minds, when you think of Australia, you will think of a lot more things, including the kangaroos. It's always tagged as a tourist destination, but it's just not about this being a tourist destination. It has a lot more to offer you in terms of the weather. They enjoy a subtropical lifestyle. They have one of the best weather. You can think about temperature wise, it's moderate, especially when I take this whole presentation, I will be touching base on entire Australia, but I would still be talking in lines of Brisbane, Queensland, because that's where I'm coming from. So even if you talk about Brisbane for that matter, we have very good weather, moderate weather between 15 to 29, 30, and that's something students enjoy. No extreme weather conditions. We have some of the best beaches in Australia, and this is Gold Coast as you see it. You have a lot of beautiful islands, as you can see the kangaroos. They have their homes Australia, and very, very scenic, beautiful locations. So when I was studying in UK, I did my dissertation and thesis in Brisbane, where I did my thesis with the Australian telecom called Telstra International. That gave me an opportunity to travel to Australia. I still can relate to my experience traveling across the states. As you know, this is Sydney Harbour, one of the most popular tourist destinations. The Great Barrier Reef, anyone who is interested in scuba diving, exploring the corals, this is the right place. Okay, now this is something that everybody would know about, some person who is quite popular. Can anyone put on chat who this is? Come on, we're having an interactive session, so don't worry. Can someone put on chat who this is? Who's this actor? Or who's the character? I'll be so sad if nobody knows about who he is. Can someone put on chat? Okay, let's see what has come. Yay, Maddie has answered. Very good. So this is Chris Hemsworth, who has played the character of Thor from Marvel Comics. Obviously, he's an Australian actor who's doing very, very well in Hollywood again. Now, as we talk about Australia, there are a lot more to Australia in terms of inventions as well. So we know that US, UK are all popular study destinations, but people very, very, very rarely think about Australia as an innovative study destination. Australia is very innovative. If you know the symbol, this is a Wi-Fi symbol. Wi-Fi was invented in Australia. Likewise, Google Maps was invented in Australia. If you really see the technology that is used in the MRI machines, that is invented in Australia. Obviously, this MRI machine technology was invented in University of Queensland, by University of Queensland. Now let's look at some of the Australian inventions here. So Wi-Fi, Google Maps, black box flight recorder, bionic ear, spray on skin, penicillin as a medical antibiotic, cervical cancer vaccine, the MRI technology as I spoke about. What makes it possible for Australia to be one of these innovative study destinations? Now, we're talking about Australia as a whole. As you know, Australia is a very big country. So Australia will be the size of all of these countries put together. You can see the map here. So putting all of these countries together, that is the size of Australia, okay? Now, Australia is divided into 6 states. You have Western Australia, you have South Australia, you have Queensland, you have New South Wales, you have Victoria, Tasmania, and of course you have the Northern Territory, which is one of the territories. And this is Australia, but it's divided into states. And you know the famous cities of Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Canberra, Adelaide, Perth, and all that. So this is the map. And University of Queensland, we are located in Brisbane, which is the capital city of Queensland, towards the northeastern part of Australia. Now, let's talk about Australia in a nutshell in terms of Australian higher education. So Australia, like I said, is at par with or very closer to the standards of United States and United Kingdom degree. So it's the third most popular international student destination in the world. And you have almost 7 of the best student cities in the world in Australia. And one of our campuses, the St. Lucia campus, which is located within the central business district of Brisbane, the St. Lucia campus, where we have most of the programs being offered, is ranked as the 11th most beautiful campus in the world. And Australia is home to almost 43 universities, 40 public universities, 2 international universities, and 1 private specialty university. Obviously, the flagship Australian universities that we are talking about is the group of 8 universities. As I said, is one of, it's a collaboration of world-leading teaching and research intensive Australian universities. And before, before I go more into group of 8 universities, please know I'll be talking much more about what group of 8 is all about in detail. And they are, like I said, is consistently ranked in the top universities in the world. So that's where we relate that to the high class education. We relate that to the top rankings. We relate group of 8s to universities being number 1 in research. So we'll talk about all that. And out of all this, Australia has 5 of the world's top 50 universities, and 1 is University of Queensland again. And if you know, Australian government has invested over $300 million in scholarships to welcome international students to come and study in Australia. So now there are a lot more scholarships that students can apply for. I can probably throw some light on scholarships as we proceed through different slides. My presentation is not that longer, but I would still touch base on as much as I can. and give you more information about this. But this is in a nutshell about Australian higher education. Now let's look at what are these, or which are the group of 8 universities. So you have University of Adelaide, Australian National University, University of Queensland, University of Sydney, Monash University, University of Western Australia, University of Melbourne, and University of New South Wales. So these are the 8 universities who are part of the group of 8 coalition, okay? Now, let's look at what Group of 8 universities are all about. Now, Group of 8 universities, like I said before, they are leading universities in teaching and research, and they are so committed to excellence. If you really see their forte itself is, the first requirement to get into any Group of 8 university will be you meeting your prerequisites for admission in terms of your academics. So they accept quality students from all backgrounds, and finally deliver quality graduates to the industries, and definitely leaders of tomorrow. And with this comes a lot of inventions that has been lacked. So we have a lot of commitment to excellence. And if you know, Group of 8 educates over 380,000 students. Okay, that is almost more than a quarter of the entire international higher education student community in Australia, and it has about 96,000 quality graduates every year. Okay, now its student cohort also includes a large number of international students. So 100,000 international students coming from over 200 countries, 200 different nationalities, with 1 in 3 of Australia's international students, they chose to study at a Group of 8 universities. So students who are looking at studying in a top quality university, a university that is committed to excellence in teaching and research. And as you see, if you choose 3 students who are going to Australia, 1 of those 3 students definitely choose to study at a Group of 8 university. Okay. Now, Group of 8 universities also educate more than half of Australia's doctors, dentists, vets, and provide some about 55% of Australia's science graduates and more than 40% of Australia's engineering graduates. So, like I said, if 1/3 of the Australian international student population chooses a Group of 8 universities as the preferred study, obviously it reflects in the kind of graduates that we deliver, or quality graduates or leaders of tomorrow that Australian universities deliver back to the industries. Now, if you really look at enrollments in terms of post-graduation enrollments, 1/3 of all postgraduate students, almost half of all students in higher degrees by research. Like I said, these universities are really leading in terms of research, and so you have most of these students going into the Group of 8 universities. Now, one thing when we talk about research, so going down, as you see here, Group of 8 universities are what half of all doctorates in Australia. So now we have plenty of students who are looking into doing their PhDs. Now, when you think about PhDs, you should understand that they are really high quality research. And when you have such high quality research, it is required that your students have some experience of, some kind of research, some publications that you have done, or a supervised dissertations that you have completed in your previous study. All of these should add to a excellent proposal for your application to be considered to be supervised by a professor, because these are all high quality researchers and they will be very, very competitive in terms of getting selected. So you need to look at it that way and have to make sure that you have your applications done really well. And for other students who are looking at undergrad and postgraduate, I'll come back to you soon as in what we should do and what are the requirements generally we look at. Okay. Now, as I said, they're #1 universities in research, and these are few examples of research success that we have seen. As you can see, Australia's first satellite was invented by University of Adelaide. The zero carbon energy for Asia Pacific from Australian National University. Heat resistant corals from University of Melbourne. Anti-malaria drug by Monash University. The first cervical cancer vaccine was invented in the University of Queensland. As you know, many of these universities at this point in time, the current situation with the pandemic, especially University of Queensland, have been successful in developing a vaccine. We were approached by the CEPI, and we were asked to develop a vaccine for coronavirus. And our professors or researchers have been successful in developing a vaccine, and has gone for human trials right now. So we're hoping that things go well, we would soon have the vaccine coming out for coronavirus as well. There are a lot more inventions, as you can see, if you really go through these university websites. There are so many inventions, so many patents. The best part about these group of aids is that they are leading universities in research, like I said, in teaching, right? Now, if you really see University of Queensland in 2019, according to the Nature's Index, we were ranked #1 university in Australia for research, which also means that for us, 100% of our research fields are above world standards. So when I say, like the point I said before, if we have 100% of our researchers above world standard, that makes it important that you have a good quality proposal as well. Now, how does it impact being #1 in research, or good in research, makes you the best university? So it's just not about research. The professors who teach you are also people who do the research. So your professors are the ones who do the research. So you have a perfect amalgamation of theory and practice. So you learn from people who do the research and are also consultants or are consulting, or practitioners from within the industry who are teaching you in class. So you have a tripod kind of a thing. So they do the research, your students here, and then they do the consulting. So you get the best of both worlds. And that's how, if you really see the curriculum for many courses, almost 98% of our courses, you will find some element of a research project embedded in the DNA of the program. It's all about, applying your concepts learning as you go by solving a lot of problems within that particular concept. Okay, you apply those to real life world, and that's how you study. So you have the best of the industry teaching you. Before going into this one thing I would also like to reiterate here is that University of Queensland professors have won maximum number of teaching awards, national teaching awards, than any other Australian universities in Australia. That also makes us committed to a lot of teaching excellence as well. Now, like I said before, our experts are leading the way in COVID-19 research, and we already have received about 23.5 million in funding to fast track the vaccine development. So in fact, as soon as we go in for the trials, we're hoping that things would happen very quickly. So like I said, the CEPI approached us, the Coalition of Epidemic Preparedness Innovations approached us to, develop a vaccine against the novel coronavirus. Now, what are the kind of study areas that we look at? Now, we know that in many countries there are popular programs. Australia has it all. So you talk about agriculture and environment. So I'll go by certain programs that are quite popular, and most of our universities that I've listed here have these courses, but you would still have to go to their websites to see if your specific programs are listed. I'll go in general about the kind of programs that you can probably see, like agricultural and environmental. So you have certain programs like agribusiness, you have a master's or bachelor's in agriculture studies, or you have a Bachelor of Science, a Bachelor of Arts relating to a specialization. You have environmental management, you have environmental sciences, you have architecture, where you have architectural design, then you have planning, so that is urban development and design, or urban or regional planning, such courses, which is one of the, again, a different side of the same coin of architecture. Architecture is mostly with commercial and residentials, but urban planning is all about developing the urban sector. Okay, and there are a lot more job opportunities within that space too. And with the University of Queensland, that also comes with an internship embedded in the program. We have arts, humanities, and social sciences. We have, as you know, within arts, you have so many options, humanities and social sciences, many subjects to take up. Business and economics, obviously, a lot of business related courses. If you want to go into the technical side of business, if you want to go into the creative side of business, there are combinations with business, finance, economics, all of these that students can take up within bachelor's and masters as well. Education, engineering and computing, like I said, we deliver almost 50% of graduates from group of 8, which is engineering graduates. So we have wide range of programs. Now these days, the popular ones are definitely Bachelor of Engineering, Bachelor of Computer Science, Bachelor of IT. You have Masters in Engineering with all the specializations we can think about. You have sustainability, which is gaining a lot more popularity. You have data science, which is gaining a lot more popularity. You have interaction design, which is yet another good program that you can look at everywhere. And most of these programs also have a lot of placement components. Placement, when we mean placement, that means internships, which students can take up. And certain internships are embedded in the course, wherein students earn credits for that particular internship embedded within the program. In certain cases, there are student employability teams across each faculties, and students can go approach the student employability teams or the career teams and tell them that, hey, I'm interested in doing an internship or a placement, and they can also help you connect with industries or let you know about any opportunities. And you can also separately apply for any internships and go ahead and do it in parallel to your academics. Now you have health and behavioral sciences, like, you have a lot of students from India applying for these courses like physiotherapy, pharmaceutical, industrial practice. Then you have psychology, counseling. All of these are quite popular programs. You have law. University of Queensland has a Bachelor of Law. Bachelor of Law is accredited by Bar Council of India. So even if you study in Australia and come with a LLB or a Bachelor of Law, you will still be able to practice in India. You have the medicine courses. Students, they can go into our medicine courses either directly after their 12th or after completing their postgraduate. So when they take the pathway, so they are completing their 12th and then getting on to medicine, what they will do is they'll do their 3+4. They'll study or take a pathway through taking up a biomedical or a health science course for 3 years, and then they transition to studying the next 4 years to complete their Doctor of Medicine. They have to go through a lot of competitive examinations before they can qualify for the same. And if a 12th student is coming up directly, we're looking at a percentage of about 97% or more. Okay. Now we have science and mathematics, as you know, many students. India, it is popular. Many students ask for biomedical sciences, biotechnology. These are all quite more popular. Molecular biology, all of these are very popular. Zoology, ecology, like I said, biomedical sciences, health sciences, all of these are quite more popular. So any program for that matter, you will be able to find it in Australia. And you just need to look through and research through to see what suits you the best. I have a suggestion that when you look at the title of the courses, that it's just not enough that you look at the title of the courses. You have to make sure that you open the course list and look through the course contents, because, for example, a student probably will be in a university looking at Master of Structural Engineering or a construction management. But probably they are not finding it under the specialization for Master of Engineering. What he or she sees is, or Bachelor of Engineering. What he or she will be seeing is a Bachelor of Civil Engineering. But you don't know, under Civil Engineering, they would still be studying Structural Engineering and Construction Management, right? So you have to make sure you just don't go by the title of the programs for bachelor's or master's. You have to make sure that you go by the course list so that you know you are studying the right program. Now, with a lot more universities, you will find that a lot of programs are also being ranked. Like with reference to University of Queensland, we have almost 20 25 or up of programs, or more than. This is just a few of them. We have so many programs which are ranked in the top 50 in the world. And in terms of Australian rankings, we have almost 10-15 programs which are ranked at the top 10 in Australia as well. So when you look at or research through your programs, you will also understand that there are a lot of programs that students can take up, which are also ranked amongst the top programs in the world and also in Australia as well. Great. So let's talk about the degrees or the study or intake. So we primarily look at two intakes. One is July intake, another is the Feb intake. So we normally call SEM 1 intake for February because that is the first semester we do in the year. And we call SEM 2 for July intake because that's the second semester that we start in the year, right? So we have two intakes, July and Feb. Certain universities are also with three intakes. Some have an intake in November for some programs. And even though we say that there are the two intakes, July and Feb, for certain programs, we have November intake also. So you have to make sure that you look through correctly to see which intake are you looking at and which program gives you that particular intake. Now, the bachelor's degrees in Australia are 3 years in length, wherein an honors program will be for 4 years, just like anywhere else in the world. We have options with dual degrees. So dual degree offers students to take up two different degrees. And at the same time, one thing that I would highly speak about here is there's something called concurrent diplomas or breadth courses, right? So as you're doing a major, so if you know in the US, it is quite popular for students to take up a core program. And then probably if the student is really good in music, they want to do a minor in music, right? So likewise, most of these universities, including University of Queensland, we have concurrent diplomas that students can take up. As you know, businesses are going so global, and you know, many countries are looking at bilateral you know, relations and all this, and this great demand or great opportunity for professionals who have proficiency in more than one or two languages. So any student who come into our programs, they can choose to do a concurrent diploma in any language, like Spanish, Russian, French, German, Chinese, any language for that matter. So, and they can also do extra courses in music. So this is all possible. So they can do their majors, they can do concurrent diplomas, they can take up finals as well. So you have to discuss with your course coordinator or discuss with your particular advisor to see how this can be made possible. Scholarships. Now, like I said, Australian government has a lot more funding in terms of supporting international students to come and study in Australia through a lot of funding possibilities. Now, these would come in terms of internal funding and external funding, okay? So when I say internal funding is coming through the universities. The university provides fundings in terms of scholarship. In most of the cases, scholarships are merit-based, okay? Now, scholarships are mostly merit-based when I say it's academic score-based. In many cases, they also look at what add-on you have in terms of your profile, like how good are you with your extracurricular, which talks about your leadership skills, problem-solving skills, interpersonal skills, and all that. Just not about that. We will also be looking at students with an offer letter or a conditional or unconditional offer letter. That's also something they look at before you can apply for a scholarship. Certain scholarships will be automatically considered on the application. Certain scholarships need to be separately applied for. So those are internal scholarships, and scholarships can be either program-based, like for University of Queensland, we have scholarships specifically for pharmaceutical industrial practice. We have scholarships specifically for the School of Science, Chemistry, and Molecular Biology. Or we have scholarships specially for Indian students. So we call the Higher Achievers India Scholarship. So students can come into, applying for the India-based scholarship or the faculty-based scholarship or the program-based scholarships, right? So every university have their own ways of offering funding for students. The qualification frameworks, what are the degrees or what are the certifications that we offer students? So we have certifications, graduate certificates, we have graduate diplomas, you have associate diplomas or associate degrees, you have bachelor degrees, You have bachelor's honors programs. We have dual degree programs, like I said before. We have the postgraduate degrees, which includes the master's courses, the MPhil, a Master of Philosophy, Doctor of Philosophy, etc. So these are the qualifications that we in Australia offer students. Now, one major concern that students have is what about employability in Australia? Employability in Australia is a major concern. However, we are quite happy with the fact that with the current pandemic, Australia has been able to handle the situation much better than the Western world. And we are seeing that they place a lot more importance in terms of taking care of their economy. And likewise, it gets boiled down to all the stakeholders around, and especially when it comes to universities in Australia. There are a lot more opportunities that students have once they decide to come and study in the country. So what do students have in terms of support, in terms of career facilities? So according to, or maybe if I talk about myself as an international student, if I look at the ability, I have the best university academics that I study with, one of the top quality institutions, and along with that, I have student resources on campus. Now, let's talk about certain common resources that students have on campus. Every campus has something called a career services team. Okay, all of us know that they sit in one corner of the building, not making much sound or noise. They are very calm and quiet people, but the most powerful people in the campus, or the most powerful group in the campus. Why? Because they are the first point of contact for about 200 to 300 odd companies who come onto the campus. They are the ones who will conduct the career fairs. They are the ones who will conduct the industry expert sessions. They are the ones who will be helping you map your entire career search strategy. So with University of Queensland, we have a lot more possibilities for students to get placed. Like even when this point in time when students are commencing their classes in August, we are offering students, we have always offered, and we're now offering students, even through the online platform as they're starting to study online, the student success programs where they will have a lot more support, 360-degree support in terms of their employability, professional development, mentorship, etc., etc. We have something called an employability award. So as a student graduates with an academic degree, student will also graduate with an employability award. For example, an employability award is all about student doing 3 different things within this award to reach this award or get this award. They'll do 100 hours of industry practice, 100 hours of volunteering activities, and the third supplementary thing is they being part of a society or a club, or being a mentor or being mentored by someone. Once these 3 activities are completed, they go through creating an e-portfolio for themselves. They go through a panel interview by the experts, and then they're awarded the employability award, which states that the student has proven to have so many skill sets and he is employable in Australia. So this will be suitable for any students who come with some experience, without any experience, any fresher who is coming onto the campus, etc., etc. Now, you have summer and winter research programs. So you are open to doing summer and winter research programs. Like I said, you can go to your career services team or the student employability team. Like for University of Queensland, we have student employability teams for different faculties. Like when I say faculties, it is different departments. Like we have the Faculty of Business Engineering and Law, we have the Faculty of Engineering, Architecture, and IT. So all these faculties have different student employability teams who will source these for you and support you with your placements and winter research awards and everything. Short-term global experiences, you have study abroad programs, you have integrated learning through placements. If it is embedded in the program, yes, otherwise also you have the opportunity to visit sites and have supervised research projects done. A lot of volunteering activities, a lot of clubs and societies on campus. Like most of the universities have more than 200 odd clubs and societies, and that is a place where almost 50,000 odd students gain additional skill sets. Now, one thing you should note is being an international student, the best opportunity you have here is that you will be able to learn a lot more skill sets by networking. And almost 70% of the jobs go unadvertised, and that comes through networking. So this is a great platform for you to again avail a lot of skill sets, or probably gain a lot of skill sets, so that you can create a good CV and showcase that you have the necessary skill sets to go forward. Now, entrepreneurship and innovation, anyone who wants to start up their own, anyone who is wanting to develop a business, they have an opportunity to present their $1 million idea to the business owners and the entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, angel investors, and also have the opportunity to avail the services from the incubator, where through the incubator, wherein we have something called the Idea Hub in UQ, and many other universities have different support systems for startups. And we also offer from UQ almost $14,000 in seed capital to fund an enterprise. So we have so many supports for students who are looking at venturing out their own as well. Okay, we're coming to the second last slide of this presentation. What are the steps that you follow to reach Australia, right? So you first decide why do you want to study abroad, then you choose your country, you choose the universities depending on what are you looking at. So you will look at probably the rankings or the program, the course list, the placements, the status or the employability status, and all of these. And then you shortlist the universities. You can approach your counselors, talk to them about your interest in applying. You lodge an application, and let me tell you, if counselors and students are here, if you have any student who is interested in making an application, and if we know that they meet the requirements, you can reach out to me for University of Queensland or any of the universities to check out our application waiver. So if we see that, at least for our university, if we see that student is eligible for a waiver, we will provide you with an application waiver to make your application. Then you apply and get the offer letter. Then you apply for the scholarship. Once you get the scholarships and everything is ready for you, then you accept the offer. Once you accept the offer, you go through your enrollment formalities. Then you go through your pre-departure briefing. You arrive in Australia, study in Australia, and then you have something like the post-study work visas, which allow you to stay back in the country post-completion of your studies. Okay, so this is the entire process that you will go through in the beginning to start your journey in studying in Australia. Yes, so it's time to start your journey and tell us your story. Great, so thank you so much for listening to me today. So I hope I was able to throw some light. If you have any questions, I would advise you to put them on chat.
Yeah, thank you, Ramita. It was very thorough presentation. And we're open for questions now. You can send in your questions through Q&A box. Or you can raise your virtual hand to ask your questions.
You can unmute yourself and ask, but I would prefer you to put it in the Q&A box so that I can address the questions.
Anyone who has any questions?
No questions?
I think you were very thorough in your presentation.
I hope to believe so. Nobody has any questions then? Okay.
Yeah, so we have one raised hand. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Please go
Okay,
ahead.
there is, I'm a counselor, and there is one question which does come up all the time, very often.
Yes.
Comparing, say, Australia to Canada, especially where PR is concerned.
Okay.
That is a question which I don't know if anybody is asking that openly, but this is a question which I'm asked regularly. So I'm asking that of you now, please.
Okay, ma'am. So I have a limitation to answer questions related to PR. That doesn't come under my purview. But I can generalize and tell you that, of course, students have this opportunity to study and stay back in the country. And that gives them enough time, like Canada, to apply for jobs and apply for a full-time job and get an employer to sponsor them to later on continue to stay back in the country. That's the extent to which I can answer this question. Otherwise, you will have to probably consult a counselor to understand much more, or a representative who's able to answer a peer question for you.
Yeah, but say how many, are there certain point systems to get a PR, or what is the system by which a student can get a PR later on in life?
Ma'am, I will not be able to answer PR related questions for you here in this platform. So I would like to connect with the...
Okay, so I'm still stuck. I have to answer these questions and I don't know the answers. Okay.
I understand, ma'am. I understand that. I'm sorry about that.
Mm-hmm. And what's the cost of living like in Australia?
So I'll be able to answer you with regard to Brisbane. I'm seeing my students recently gave me a feedback that they're able to manage their costing with about $800,000 in a month. They're going for shared accommodations. However, we ask students to be prepared with at least 15,000 to 20,000 Australian dollars every year towards their cost of living.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if a student is getting a scholarship, say, and if you can convert it into, will you be able to convert it into Indian rupees as of now? So generally, how much does a student have to spend throughout the year?
Okay, ma'am. So let's see that the tuition fees will be ranging from about $40,000 to $45,000 in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And we can expect a scholarship ranging from a smaller amount to a percentage of about 50 or more. So it completely depends on the kind of scholarship. If it is a country-based scholarship, or if it is a faculty-based scholarship, most of the times it'll be a higher percentage, as I've seen. And if they are really good with academics, there are higher chances that they can avail more percentage. And certain scholarships continue to be given not only in the first year, they will continue to be given throughout their studies. For a bachelor student, it will be given 4 times. So I'll give you an example. So University of Queensland has something called a Higher Achievers Scholarship. So the current year's amounted to 20% of the fee for 1 year. So that means that bachelor student is getting 20% every 4 years. So that is an example I can give you.
Okay, thank you. That
Thank
is
you,
it.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
And what about, are they allowed to work during their studies?
Yes, ma'am. They are allowed to work part-time during their studies. They can find accommodations inside the campus or outside the campus. They can work about 20 hours per week or 40 hours every fortnight. And I'm seeing that students find jobs inside the campus, in cafeterias, in libraries, when they have some international events. They can be in bookstores. They can work outside the campus, like people work in call centers in Brisbane, a lot of hospitality organizations, old age homes, florists, then supermarkets, premier stores. These are few examples of jobs that students are doing at the moment.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. So I have few questions, Ramita, that like you said in your presentation that there are 2 intakes. One is in July and one is in February. So currently, given the current situation, we'll be looking February 21 intakes. Yeah. So meanwhile, are you offering few online courses, or other than that, will you be continuing the online courses for the bachelor degrees or the postgraduate degrees, or will there be physical classes going on from February?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Alma's question. I think it's very important to address that here at this point in time. So many universities, almost most of the universities in Australia, we are commencing our semesters online. Until the borders open up and students can start studying on campus, we will be commencing this intake, the July intake in 2020. We are commencing this already online. and we are expecting Feb to be on campus if things go well. Like how Almas asked, many parents and students are very apprehensive about their experience of studying online. We also give a lot more importance to giving you a taster, like in terms of master classes. So all this past 2 months, we have done a lot of master classes, boot camps and all for undergrad students. Also faculty sessions and all for postgraduate students to have an idea of how an online class works, or how interactive can that be. And everybody is evolving and learning and making things better, right? The last 3 months, we didn't know how things were, but this after 3 months, we're in a much more better place. University of Queensland, like any other universities, were able to transition to online learning. So remember, so those students who came in Feb, soon after 1 or 2 months, they had to study online, right? So we transitioned in just about a week's time, and we have a separate division only for e-learning, developing the e-learning platforms, and we are revising it every now and then. So we're going to give students, or we are actually giving students an experience at par with on campus learning, and we are hoping to be positive, and students are giving us excellent feedback, and we are hoping to roll this coming intake in a very good way.
Okay. So most probably physical classes will start from February 20.
We are hoping that the borders would open up by then.
So are you offering any short-term courses also for the students?
No, 99% of our courses are being offered online. We have not stopped offering any courses or not stopped the duration. But yes, normally a student would take up 4 courses in a semester. If the students still want to be considered a full-time student so that he can transition to on-campus learning without any hitch, he should still be, or he or she should still be a full-time student by taking at least 3 courses. This will put them in a full-time mode. Anything lesser than that will put them in a part-time mode. So they can decide. So students will also be given from University of Queensland, we give them an opportunity to have a blended learning opportunity. So even if the borders open up, if they have a choice that they can, come on to campus, we are also giving them a choice of continuing to study online. So that's their choice.
So we have one more question from Ridhima. She says, can you tell a little more about your medicine program?
Okay, so I would like to know, what is the current qualification of the student?
Ridhima, if you can hear us, you can write down in the chat box or in the Q&A box.
Because 2 are 2 different requirements, so I'll be able to touch base on that.
Yeah. So which grade are you in? Ridhima, can you hear us? Yes, I have received her. She is in grade 11 right now.
Grade 11th?
Yeah.
Okay. So so she will have to complete her 12th, and she needs to have at least a 97%. Okay. Now you also have to write your ISAT and have a 60% in each band or each subject, and you need a IELTS of 7 overall, 7. Okay, so what you do is you'll come through a pathway program. So a pathway will be any program for that matter. It will be health science or a biomedical science. If you're a student who comes with no mathematics, then you should take a health science program. If you come with a mathematics, then you can take up a biomedical science program. So there'll be 3+ for you. Study this pathway program for 3 years, then you transition to studying your medicine, which is an extension. Okay, so you also need to have you maintain in this bachelor's pathway a 5 GPA out of 7. So that's the requirement.
So
and
I
further,
think
I can speak. Ridhima, I can further speak to you about this if you can get in touch with me. So I'll give you more insight into my contact here.
Yes, definitely. So any one of you who has any other questions, then we will wrap up. I will again say your, presentation was very thorough. You gave all the answers in advance.
Okay, I hope to believe so.
Yeah, so we will be wrapping up.
Sure.
And I would like to thank you for taking your time out. And,
thank you so much, Almas.
Yeah, and all the attendees who are there. Thank you, Sushma ma'am, for your questions. And till then, stay safe, stay healthy. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ramita.
Thank you. Thank you, Almas.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.